we're going to get started here. I apologize for the heat, but I'm happy for the sun. So it's a great day in Franklin. We are going to start this morning with the presentation of the colors. So please rise if you're seated for the presentation of the colors from the Tennessee Army National Guard, Color Guard. With us today is Staff Sergeant Secret Wood, Staff Sergeant John Trisdale, Staff Sergeant Ashlyn Staggs, and Sergeant Jamin Williams. You may be seated. Thank you. For those of you who know me, I typically just orate, but this day is too important to not mess up, which I will. So I apologize in advance for reading my words. First of all, you try to think about what this moment's going to look like, and you far exceeded my expectations. So thank you so much for being here this morning. My name is Brandy Blanton, and I have had the privilege of serving the city of Franklin as an alderman for the past 13 years. And the city of Franklin is recognized nationally for our historic preservation, and that includes our efforts to remember the Battle of Franklin that was fought here during the Civil War. I would offer that that's just part of our story. I am incredibly proud that today we add another chapter. With this beautifully handcrafted bronze statue, it will allow the opportunity to reflect on a different generation. Without a doubt, this project will be one of the most treasured accomplishments of my life, paying homage to my dear friend, Jimmy Gentry. It's taken 5 years to get to this day, and it would not have been possible without the commitment and hard work of the Leadership Franklin project team who brought this to fruition. Stacy Downs, Andrea Johnson, Lance Jordan, and Carrie Drury, all of whom will be up here shortly. And of course, all the donors and the partners that participated to support this moment. The name of this public art piece is Coach Jimmy Gentry and the Lost Heroes Memorial. The statue is in the likeness of Jimmy Gentry, a World War II veteran, a coach, a teacher, a farmer, an artist, a storyteller, patriarch of the Gentry family, and a friend to many of you here today. We lost Jimmy on April 21st in 2022. It's 2 years, just a couple of weeks ago, or really a week ago. He was 96 years old, but his influence and impact was poured into generations of locals. For some of that was in a classroom. For some of you, that was on a ball field. For many, it was on the bucolic grounds of the Gentry farm. For more than 2 decades, Jimmy Gentry would sit on the wooden swing in front of his home at Gentry Farm under the century-old magnolia tree and share with the groups of Leadership Franklin glimpses into his childhood as a Franklin native. He grew up without the influence of a father because he passed away when he was just 12 years old. Jimmy's stories were of a simpler time where he and his brother would hunt rabbits for their dinner and later bask in the sun and jump in the water of the famed Willow Plunge. It was a time when everyone knew each other, and Franklin was a very small town. One where the telephone operator could tell you who was at the doctor or the grocery store just when you tried to reach them by phone. That was always a good story Jimmy would tell. I don't remember her name, but he loved telling that story about that operator. Jimmy would talk about the love and admiration he had for his mother, who raised 8 children alone. He would always say, anything good in me came from my mother. That same woman who instilled in her children to never take the last biscuit because someone always needed it more. One of his stories was about the rock fence. And that rock fence, as you see, runs right here behind me all the way to Main Street. Jimmy shared the significance of this wall where farmers used to gather on Saturdays to sell their wares, or children would climb atop it and balance from end to end. However, the most poignant thing that happened at this wall was in the mid-1940s when young men would sit here waiting for a particular bus to arrive. And when it did, if your name was called, you were headed off to war to serve your country. Even after losing his brother David to war, Jimmy would enlist, and his name would be called along with several of his friends. Many of those young men did not return, and Jimmy adamantly always said those were the real heroes. His voice would always soften with emotion as he moved on to the next chapter of his life as a young man far away from Franklin, Tennessee, where he served in the United States Army as a foot soldier. Jimmy Gentry witnessed one of the most horrific scenes as he and his troop stumbled upon the concentration camp at Dachau 79 years ago today. More than 3,500 Williamson Countyans caught the bus from this wall, and 143 of them did not make it home. They paid the highest price protecting our nation. We honor all of them today, and we hope that as is possible, people visit this site, whether as a local or a tourist, and they reflect on the sacrifices made by all the brave men and women who serve our country. Today, we are honored to have some special guests join us, and I would like to publicly acknowledge a few of them who I knew would be here. When I call your name, if you will wave your hand, please. We're going to start with a man named William Burnett Aiken. Most people know him as Bunny. Bunny is 91 years old, and he served in the Korean War. That's what I was told, Bunny. How old are you? Today. He can't remember. We'll just say he's in his early 90s. Bunny served in the Korean War as a U.S. Army private first class, but his brother Bobby Aiken got on the same bus as Jimmy Gentry and was one of those who was killed in the line of duty. Thank you for your service. We also have Claude Hillenbrand. Wait, please raise your hand. Thank you so much. He is 100 and a half, and he flew 35 missions with the Army Air Force as an engineer gunner and earned the prestigious Flying Cross and Air Medal. Thank you, sir. Also today, we have with us Paul Smith from the U.S. Air Force, Wade Bloom, U.S. Army, Don Kinkle with the U.S. Navy. Raise your hand. And I'm going to move on to the veterans in the crowd. Thomas, welcome. Thomas's last name? Thomas Barlow. Thank you, sir. U.S. Army veteran. So, I know we have more veterans in the crowd, and this is the day where it's your day too. So, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, keep it raised, and I want us to have a moment of silence to honor all of you here that have served our country in this capacity. Please raise your hand if you're a veteran. And now we're going to take that moment of silence. All right, thank you so much. Now it is my pleasure to introduce my friend, Mayor Rogers Anderson. Hi, Paul.
Thank you, Brandy, and to my fellow compadres as veterans, welcome home. For you that know what that means. It's a gorgeous day here in Franklin today. We thank the leadership team. If there are other elected officials in the area, in the audience, first with the Franklin Board of Aldermen, if they're here, would you raise your hand so we can say thank you to them? One or two, I see sprinkled out in the back. Thank you. If you're a county commissioner, you're here in the back. I see a few hands popping up. And to our state legislators, I know there's a one or two here. In the words of George Washington, when we assume the soldier, we do not lay aside the citizen. Jimmy Gentry was a soldier, a citizen of Williamson County, a coach, a storyteller, and a mentor to those who did not have the courage that he felt to share the soldiers' stories. I want to express my appreciation to all of the leadership team and the class members who took on this project and brought it to life. I think it's fitting that the veteran Jimmy Gentry be forever sitting on this corner to allow his memories and the story of so many soldiers to live on. As he sits here today, he's facing the Veterans Memorial Park, which is directly across the street. It's a county park in the heart of downtown Franklin, which is dedicated to men and women who fought in numerous wars, even as far back as the Indian Wars, including those that were not able to return home. Let's be mindful and remember each of our soldiers, past and present, for protecting our freedoms. The freedom to assemble, like here today, this morning, to pay tribute to Jimmy and all the soldiers in Williamson County. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stacy Downs, and I'm part of the Leadership Franklin team that was honored to be able to put this statue together. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. When we started this project in 2019, we could not have been able to imagine all of the support that we would get from this loving community that we call home. This Lost Heroes Memorial has taken on a life of its own, and it really became something that we couldn't even envision, and we just couldn't be prouder. Coach Gentry made this community a better place to live and raise a family. His legacy will be spoken about much today, and I'm so encouraged that in a world where we turn on the news and all we hear is something negative, we can show up and see all of these people around us that make our community a wonderful place to be. I would like to say a special thank you to Leadership Franklin, and specifically Paula Harris and Julian Bibb, who have been consistently by our sides with the team to make this project happen. Mayor Anderson and the Williamson County government, Mayor Moore and Eric Stuckey in the city of Franklin, Monique McCullough, who I really don't know how anybody makes anything happen in this city without Monique. The City of Franklin Parks Department, Lisa Clayton and Kevin Lindsay. The City of Franklin Street Department, Steve Grubb, and our talented sculptor, Scott Wise, who really is such an artist, as you all will see. And to everyone here that donated to make this project happen, none of this would be here without your funds supporting us. All right, Lance. you can come up.
Good morning. As a native Franklinian, surviving native Franklinian on the team, I have the opportunity to introduce Jimmy Gentry's family. So his sons are here, Alan and Scott, and Alan is going first because he told me he was.
Good morning, Franklin. The Gentry family is humbled and honored by the outpouring of love today. My father was simply a man who loved his family, loved his town, loved his country, and loved God. He was born November 28th, 1925 on Franklin Road, 2 miles out Main Street at Whitehall. He and his brothers hunted, fished, and trapped all over this county, helping to feed his family and make ends meet. He attended Franklin Grammar School, which was right there, just across the street. Later went to Franklin High School, just right up the street here, right next to the Carter House. While he was in high school, he watched his older brother, David, sit on this wall, leave, go to war, not to return. During the war, Dad always said you did not want the Western Union man on the bicycle to stop at your house. Wasn't good news. But in 1944, the Western Union guy stopped and lost David Nolan Gentry 80 years ago today. The summer after Dad graduated from high school, he sat on this very wall and waited for the bus to pick him up, to go to boot camp, just like so many others. Dad always said the heroes are the one who didn't return. He was a lifelong member of 4th Avenue Church of Christ, just 2 blocks away, for 96 years. Married his high school sweetheart, Rebecca Chanel, who is the only first lady he ever kissed. My mother actually worshiped right here, First Presbyterian Church. After the war, Mom and Dad started a family right down 5th Avenue, right next to Ivy Harrison's house. If anybody knows, just right before the curve, I can see the house from here. So Franklin was very important. After the war, Mom and Dad started their family, and he was a teacher and coach for several decades. It took a few years before he finally started talking about his war experience. He felt it was his duty to share his story. This was not just his story, but the story of the country and the cost of freedom. We would like to thank, as the Gentry family, leadership Franklin, for keeping this story alive and remembering all those who did not return. Especially like to thank Carrie, Brandy, Stacy, Andrea, Lance. Thank y'all. I'm sure Dad was here in spirit right now. He'd go, "Why y'all all here?" He'd say, "Glad it's about the other people, and can somebody take me to Halfway Market and grab me a sandwich?" Thank you.
Yeah, as Alan said, Dad loved to party, and he would love this. I thought he was going to unveil here a while ago with the wind blowing. But good morning, and thank you for coming. Dad usually did his talks, as he called them, and he would always say that he was just an average, normal foot soldier, except for one thing. Today, April 29th, 1945, this 79 years ago, young kid from Franklin, barely been out of the state probably, saw one of the worst atrocities, as Brandy mentioned, the world's ever known at Dachau, Germany. And when Brandy first mentioned an April unveiling of this statue monument, what better day could we have than to come together and remember both Dad and the people that didn't make it. Growing up, Dad told war stories. They were neat, but he never ever mentioned what happened today. Probably I'm gonna guess in the early 80s, he got a phone call at home, way back before cell phones. And there was a person on the other line kept asking war-related questions. And at the conclusion of that, it said, "Then you were at Dachau," which he quickly said no. He denied it. For 40 years, he denied it. Series of follow-up phone calls. Finally, there was one that they said, "There's just a gentleman who wants to come shake your hand." He said, "I can't deny that." So, practice field at Brentwood Academy, Coach Flatt was there. Elderly, elder gentleman gets out of a car, walks across the parking lot. Dad knew who he was. He was a former POW. After a warm embrace, they shared some special time together, and the gentleman left Dad with two things that I remember him always saying: "This is hurting you. You've got to get this out. And when you die, this all dies with you." So Dad spent the rest of his days, as most of y'all know, telling his story, and most importantly, the story of the ones over there that made my home. Thank you.
Well, Jimmy Gentry was my wife's biology teacher. She maintained that friendship for many years. And when we moved back to Franklin, 2004, she continued that friendship, and usually over a hamburger somewhere. One of the stories my wife shared with me was as she was growing up, she had a kitten, and something had happened and she was crying, and the kitten licked her tears away. She shared that story with Jimmy Gentry many years ago. Linda and I were visiting with Jimmy and when Rebecca was on her deathbed, and we were sitting out in the elevator hallway, and Jimmy says, "I've got something for you." And he pulls out a little sketch, which you know Jimmy's little sketches, and it was of a little girl with a kitten licking her tears. He had remembered that story. Jimmy Gentry was truly the epitome of the people that went away to war in World War II. They left, they served, they came home, they went back to work. They didn't brag, they didn't tell anything about their story. They just came back to be part of the community. So listen up for this proclamation. Whereas James Jimmy Gentry was a lifelong Williamson County and Franklin resident who heroically served in World War II in the 42nd Rainbow Unit and survived the Battle of the Bulge. Whereas the conclusion of his service to his country, Jimmy returned home to serve the community as an educator, coach, and mentor, and had positive impact on people from all walks of life and ages. And whereas Alderman Brandy Blanton, with members of the Leadership Franklin class of 2020, including Stacy Downs, Carrie Drury, Lance Jordan, and Andrea Johnson, proposed a statue in downtown Franklin to honor Jimmy Gentry and all World War II veterans from Williamson County. And whereas this group worked diligently over the next 5 years to secure support, funding, and a sculptor for this project, partnering with Franklin Tamara, City of Franklin, Williamson County Government, sculptor Scott Wise, City of Franklin Parks Department, City of Franklin Streets Department, and all the donors who contributed to the project. And whereas this statue named the Lost Heroes Memorial will be in honor of the 3,500 Williamson County men who deployed from Franklin's 5 Points to combat in World War II, 143 of which never returned home.
Whereas today, April 29th, marks the anniversary of Jimmy's unit discovering and liberating the Dachau concentration camp nearly 80 years ago. Now therefore, I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2024 as Lost Heroes Day in the City of Franklin, and urge our citizens to take time today to reflect on World War II heroes that fought for our nation, many of whom never made it back home.
Hello, my name is Carrie Drury, and I have the great honor of introducing the sculptor Scott Wise. Scott graduated from Johnson Foundry in Mercyville, New Jersey, Austin Peay State University in Clarksville, Tennessee, where he studied under the renowned Olin Bryant and the Blackheath School of Art in London, England. He has work in private collections all over the United States and as far as Australia. His published work includes commissions by Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, Montgomery County Government, Clarksville, Tennessee, Austin Peay State University, Nashville Public Library, the Tennessee Fallen Firefighter Memorial Committee, and in 2022, he was commissioned by the Nashville Predators to create the statue of former Nashville Predators goalie Pekka Rinne. I learned that name all night long, and I got it right, and then I still made something about it. That is displayed outside of the Bridgestone Arena. In addition to being a talented artist, Scott is a Clarksville firefighter of 26 years. Thank you, Scott, for the hard work. Thank you for the hard work, the love, and the dedication that you have given to this project. He researched Mr. Gentry like nobody I've ever seen, and he took a lot of pride in this. It was a delight to work for you, and we're so very grateful to you, Scott. Scott Wise.
Thank you. It seems like I've done a lot of work. I'm very honored to have been selected to do this sculpture of Mr. Gentry. While I was working on the piece, my grandfather was also a World War II vet, and we grew up listening to his stories, my brother and I. My father was a veteran of Vietnam, and we were stationed in Germany, in Stuttgart, and we actually went to Dachau. So I can only imagine what those men saw that day. Mr. Gentry and those men are truly the greatest generation, and I am honored to have been to sculpt Mr. Gentry. Thank you.
I know you're roasting. We're almost done. Two very important people we need to make sure that we thank. One is the matriarch of Leadership Franklin, who made the effort to be here with us today, Miss Carolyn Cross. And also, who's not able to be with us today, is the Executive Director of Franklin Tomorrow, Mindy Tate, who came alongside us and provided the pass-through so that every donation to this project was tax deductible. So thank you to Franklin Tomorrow, Mindy. So this next person, once she gets up here, if you haven't already seen, she really doesn't need any kind of introduction. Grammys, all that stuff. But today, she's just Amy. And Amy had the sweetest friendship with Jimmy Gentry. And when, actually, one of the times it was at Jimmy's funeral and we ran across each other and I told her, I said, hey, we're gonna do this statue. She's like, I'm in. And she's been in. And she wanted to be here today. Jimmy left an indelible mark on her heart. And she's gonna share a little bit with you. My friend, Amy Grant.
Over 20 years ago, I was in the middle of a change in my own life. I was a mother of 3 middle school age kids and younger, and I I was derailing privately in different ways, and I went to see Jimmy Gentry, and we sat in the shade of the magnolia tree. We went in to look at his art, and he said, Amy, I'm going to give you some advice that I've given many times. I've got 5 phrases, and I know he has said these to anybody he's ever had a conversation with, but we cannot enjoy this day in the company of so many from the greatest generation without these 5 phrases. And I was in particular worried about my son, who is now a successful adult, but at the time, and he said, these are going to be easy. I want you to hold up your hand, and we're going to do the phrases by how many fingers you're holding up. He said, hold up 5 fingers. He said, as often as possible, I want you to say to your son, I am proud of you. As often as possible. He said, say it to everybody, but especially to your children. I am proud of you. Now fold down your thumb. I've got the 4-word phrase. I said, yes, sir. He said, may I help you? Say that to him as often as possible. May I help you? Like everybody, he's trying to find his way. Ask if he wants help. May I help you? He said, now fold down another finger. I bet you can guess this one. 3-word phrase. And I said, I love you. And he said, yes. I folded down another finger. He said, the 2-word phrase, as often as possible to everyone you see, thank you. He said, now fold down that last finger. This one's the most important thing. This will change how you see everything and everyone. And I guessed every word I could think of: love, God, Jesus, hope, peace, forgiveness. And he just had that smile on his face, and he was going, no, those are good. That's not it. Those are good. Keep guessing. And I finally said, Jimmy, I don't know that last word. He said, this will change everything. Here's the word: we. We. I'm so grateful for that advice. I have spoken Jimmy's name from one end of the country to the next with those 5 phrases. And I'm so honored to speak those phrases on his behalf with a tiny bit of his accent today. Thank you.
Okay, they saved me for last because they knew I would not have any time to talk. You know me, I'm a talker. I thank you so much for joining us today. I really thought we might have 50 people attending, and I am so blown away by this community. Thank you so much for coming. This is an incredibly special day for the project team and I. As you've heard, we've been working on this for several years, and I'm honored and humbled to be part of this piece of Franklin's rich history, and we just appreciate you guys sharing this day with us. I'd like to thank the Gentry family for your help along the way and for the blessing of letting us have this project, and also thank you to all the veterans, all of you on the front row and everybody in the audience today. Thanks for being with us. I'd like to close by reading the words of the memorial. There's a memorial plaque just to the right of the statue, and this is what it says. This statue is in the likeness of Franklin, Tennessee native and World War II U.S. Army veteran Jimmy Gentry, as he reflects on the rock wall and the memories of waiting there for the bus that would take him and many others off to war to fight for our country. The empty seats on the bench honor all the heroes who fought for our nation, many of whom will never return. I hope those of you who can will join us at the Franklin Theater immediately following the unveiling for a showing of An American Adventure, which is the documentary of the life of Coach Gentry. Now, all who are able, please rise for the retiring of the colors by the Tennessee National Guard.
You may be seated, those of you who have chairs, except for Alan and Scott Gentry, the project group, the mayors, and Scott. Please come join us for the unveiling, the moment you've all been waiting for.